three decons of Sagittarius, and if you just turn your page, you'll see them. The first one you'll see is Lyra, which is the harp. Okay? Boy, there's a lot of activity going around on that one, isn't there? And the second decon that you'll see is Ara, the altar. And the third one is Draco, the dragon. Dun, 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 dun. So that's what we've got to contend with in Sagittarius. Now let's take a look at Sagittarius. In Sagittarius, we see the horse. Well, there's one thing right there. In mysticism, the word horse means wisdom. That's the four horses of the apocalypse. Understanding. The red horse being your emotional nature. The black horse being your intellectual nature. The white horse, your spiritual nature. The pale horse, your physical nature. Horse means understanding. Do you remember when the Apostle Paul had a revelation? In fact, he had an out-of-body experience. It says, on the road to Damascus, he was knocked off of his horse by this tremendous light. It doesn't have anything to do with a real horse, okay? This is mysticism. It means that his human wisdom, his human understanding was knocked out from under him by this great enlightenment that he had from that which was Christ consciousness. Okay? And if you remember, he was blinded. Simply, he was no longer able to see the things that he had seen before. The things that he had looked at before, he no longer could see. Now he was seeing divine things. Just like when you turn on Christian television now. You can't see it anymore. In the old days, you lived by it. I mean, whether it was Jimmy Swaggart or Copeland, I mean, you lived by that. You hung on every word. Now you turn it on and off you go. Because you don't see things that way anymore. You're seeing things through Christ consciousness. And that's where the horse means wisdom. So as you look at Sagittarius, you see that, the horse, and then you see the man, which is God's son. The man represents the mind, or God's son. And then you have the bow and the arrow. And you know what mysticism said? Let's take a look at the bow or the arrow. This is interesting. The bow and the arrow. And what the ancient mystics from the East said was the bow was Om. And out of Om comes the arrow, or the direction, the new direction of the human mind, the new direction of the divine mind. Out of Om, the mind then rises like an arrow up into the place of God. And that's with the bow and that's with the arrow. It's always been that way. So everything there, I mean, you have to say to yourself, inasmuch as Sagittarius, the picture of Sagittarius has been in the sky for millions of years, who drew the dots? In other words, who drew the picture around the stars? And of course we know, as it says, that God created the stars, God named the stars, he said, let them be for signs. When you look at Sagittarius, it's good if you open to the book of Revelation, which is the very last book in the Bible, so it's an easy one to find. And in the book of Revelation, if you go to page 229 in those little Bibles that you have, for the rest of you go to Revelation chapter 6. All right? Revelation chapter 6. And we'll go to verse 2. And I saw, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. See, the word Sagittarius means the archer. That's what it means. Sagittarius means the archer. The white horse, his wisdom is pure and holy. He shoots high above the earth to rise from the lower up into the higher nature. And you can see him, see. He shoots arrows against the enemies of our minds. Let's take a look in page 492 of the Old Testament, Psalm 58, verse 7. Okay? Psalm 58 and verse 7. Let's take a look at that, see what that says. Okay, Psalm 58. Let them melt away as waters which run continually. When he bends his bow to shoot his arrows, let them be as cut in pieces. Let what be? Let what be? Let what be cut in pieces? Let them melt away when he bends his bow. In other words, when Om is the bow, Om is the bow. When Om rises out of you in great meditation, and that mind of yours rises as an arrow up into the air, which is the third stage of consciousness, let them melt away. Let those hideous thoughts and the expressions that come out of the negativity of the lower mind, let all of that melt away. Let all of that be cut into pieces, you know, as the arrow was shot. There's something important to notice about Sagittarius in the picture. Take a look at that picture now. It's important. I want to show you something. There is something going right through the head of Sagittarius, and it's called the ecliptic. Okay? The ecliptic. The ecliptic is the root of the sun. That is the passageway of the sun. And it goes right through the consciousness, right through the head. The ecliptic, that path of the sun, enters into that which is the higher consciousness of Sagittarius. And what this means is it's not in the south connected with physical sufferings. This is above. This is divine power. This is a picture or a drawing from God of divine power. If you look, and let me see, do you have this with you? These are the pictures of your little star signs, okay? And if you'll take a look at D, you see D down the lower left-hand corner? Go to D24. You see Sagittarius? Now, I want to show you how the Bible was written in the stars before it was ever written in the paper or on paper. Do you see Sagittarius at D24? Okay, look what Sagittarius is aiming his arrow at. Scorpio. The scorpion. Do you see it? Is it a coincidence? No, it's not a coincidence. Because out of the bow, out of the Om, the conscious rises, and it directs this arrow of defeat at that which represents the lower mind, the lust, and all of the things of the flesh, Scorpio. There's an interesting thing. If you look, sometimes you get a chance to look at it, Scorpio being the 8th sign in the astrological chart, but Michelangelo, who I believe was, did Michelangelo or did Leonardo da Vinci paint the Last Supper?
Da Vinci.
All right, Leonardo da Vinci. He was an astrologer. Very little known about that, but Leonardo da Vinci was an astrologer, and he painted the Last Supper as the zodiac, with Jesus being the sun, surrounded by the 12 signs of the zodiac, and the 8th one from the beginning, or the 8th one from the left, which would be Scorpio, is Judas. He made Judas the 8th from the left, because he is the one that stings and kills, you see. That's an interesting thing and a little known fact. So if you learn nothing else here tonight, you'll know that Leonardo da Vinci was a great painter, but he was also an astrologer, and he astrologically placed the his disciples in the picture in accordance with the zodiacal chart. That's an interesting thing, too, because if you look, I don't know where it is. There's one thing that we have running around here about the sons of Jacob and how they're named after the signs of the zodiac.